Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're cracking open a forensic investigation into a 400-year-old literary cold case. We're going to dig into the true identity of the author behind a totally world-changing secret society. I mean, this is a mystery packed with espionage, coded messages, and a visionary plan for the future of humanity, literally the very foundations of the modern world we live in right now. So we aren't just looking at dry history today, we're stepping into a crime scene of the mind, and we're going to sift through the clues left behind by one of the absolute greatest, most enigmatic intellects to ever live. Let's get into it.
Okay, ask yourself this. If you were holding on to a revolutionary blueprint that would completely change the course of human history, ushering in our modern era of science, democracy, and enlightenment, but you knew for a fact that simply putting your name on it could cost you your life, how exactly would you release it to the world? Could one single guy really have orchestrated a massive European revolution of thought while remaining totally, completely hidden in plain sight? To pull that off, you'd need the ultimate literary cover-up.
All right, let's head straight to the crime scene with Exhibit A. Back in 1614, this anonymously published manifesto known as the Fama Fraternitatis just suddenly appeared in Kassel, Germany. It announced the existence of this highly secret brotherhood, the Rosicrucian Order, which was dedicated to the universal reformation of the whole wide world. And it worked. It shook the absolute foundations of European religious and scientific thought, fundamentally changing the trajectory of Western civilization. But here's the catch. It left behind absolutely zero confirmed authors. It was, for all intents and purposes, a phantom text.
To solve a mystery of this staggering magnitude, we need to profile our prime suspect. Enter Sir Francis Bacon. Now, to history, sure, he's known as a famous English philosopher and statesman, but our investigation reveals a pretty intense shadow resume. Bacon was a master of simulation. This was a man who worked deep within the English Secret Service during his youth in Paris, and he was a brilliant creator of hidden ciphers. Basically, he had the intellect, the highly secretive background, and the exact, precise skill set you would need to pull off a geopolitical phantom operation like this.
Now, you know how every mastermind has an MO? Well, Bacon's modus operandi centered entirely around this concept of Proteus, the ancient mythological shape-shifting sea god. In his acknowledged writings, Bacon used Proteus all the time as a metaphor for mutable matter and hidden truth. But the source material strongly suggests this wasn't just some fun, abstract philosophical concept for him. It was his literal, step-by-step strategy for literary invisibility. He firmly believed that a truly wise man had to act exactly like Proteus, capable of assuming countless different forms and incredibly complex disguises just to avoid getting captured by his enemies.
So if Bacon is actually playing the shapeshifter here, hiding his true identity behind some anonymous German manifesto, we have to ask ourselves, what are the textual fingerprints left behind at the scene? A writer of Bacon's immense caliber might be able to scrub his name from a title page, but he cannot easily hide the unique architecture of his own mind, right? We need to look really closely at the specific words, the metaphors, and the historical obsessions present in both the anonymous Fama and Bacon's acknowledged masterpieces.
And when we cross-reference those texts, boom, we hit our first major clue, the Solomon fingerprint. The anonymous Fama heavily references King Solomon's infinite wisdom and his profound understanding of nature. Well, this perfectly matches our suspect. Bacon was quite literally dubbed the Solomon of his age by King James I. And it goes deeper. In Bacon's famous utopia novel New Atlantis, which, by the way, historians widely consider to be a Rosicrucian text, the secretive scientific society operates out of a facility he explicitly named Solomon's House. That fingerprint is a direct, almost suspiciously perfect match.
Then we've got a second, undeniable fingerprint. It's the shared, almost obsessive focus on one single word, error. The anonymous pharmaceutical repeatedly laments that the world is spotted with thousands of erroneous conceits. Now, if you turn to Bacon's foundational work, The Advancement of Learning, he practically dedicates entire chapters to this exact concept. He literally starts consecutive paragraphs over and over again with the exact phrase, "another error is." This was the absolute core foundation of his worldview, the idea that humanity had wandered through thousands of years of historical error, and we desperately required a complete intellectual reset.
But hey, every good suspect needs a solid alibi, right? And the manifesto actually provides one. It claims that the Brotherhood wasn't founded by some English philosopher at all, but by this mythical, illuminated figure named Father C.R., or Christian Rosenkreutz. The story goes that this Father C.R. traveled the world gathering all this secret knowledge before heading back to Europe to establish his hidden fraternity. But when we actually take a magnifying glass to the evidence of this so-called founder's life, the alibi starts to completely and totally fall apart.
The really crucial point here is the matching DNA between this fictional founder and our real-world suspect. The Fama states that the mythical founder, Christian Rosenkreutz, was placed in a cloister in his 5th year, where he learned the Greek and Latin tongues. Okay, what are the odds that this supposedly fictional founder shared the exact, highly unique early childhood education of Francis Bacon? Bacon was famously tutored in Greek and Latin from his earliest growing years by his brilliantly educated mother, Lady Anne Cook Bacon, and she just so happened to be one of the foremost linguists in all of Europe. Kind of a wild coincidence, wouldn't you say?
And the biographical parallels just keep piling up when we track their movements. The Fama explicitly mentions that the mythical founder traveled to Damascus to acquire secret mathematical and physical knowledge when he was exactly 16 years old. Coincidentally, or maybe not so coincidentally, Francis Bacon traveled to France as part of the English embassy at the exact same age of 16. It was over there, totally immersed in the dark, whispered world of the English Secret Service, that he actually came into contact with hidden continental knowledge.
Now, you might be wondering, did Bacon even have the technical tools to pull off a deception like this? Oh, for sure. He was an absolute pioneer in cryptography. He actually invented the famous bilateral cipher while he was hanging out in Paris during his youth. He explicitly wrote about the need to create ciphers that have a certain perfection, and by that he meant ciphers that not only hide a secret message, but do it by making anything signify anything without raising even a tiny bit of suspicion that a message is actually hidden there. He had the ultimate toolkit to completely conceal his identity.
Let's crack open the intercepted protocol of this underground network for a second. Before scattering into different countries, the Rosicrucian Brethren agreed on 6 very strict rules. Just to name a few, they had to cure the sick for free, they had to adapt their clothing to the custom of the country they were in so they'd remain completely undetected, they had to use the word CR as their seal, and crucially, they had a mandate to remain absolutely secret for 100 years. I mean, we're talking about a highly organized, deeply paranoid covert operation here.
So let's review. We've got the suspect, we've got the technical means, and we have the matching textual fingerprints. But any good investigation requires a motive. Why on earth go through all of this immense trouble? Why invent mythical founders, use incredibly complex cryptography, and enforce century-long vows of absolute silence just to publish a philosophical pamphlet? What was so incredibly dangerous about these ideas that the author couldn't simply just publish them under his own name back in London?
Well, the motive, quite simply, was survival. Bacon wanted to pave the way for a modern society, one based on scientific progress and technological advancement. His ultimate vision was essentially egalitarian, a democratic world where the efforts of scientists actually serve the desires of the many, rather than just the whims of a few elite rulers. But Bacon lived under an absolute monarchy. Suggesting that kings were no longer necessary wasn't just controversial, it was literal high treason. And back in this era, treason didn't mean you paid a fine or got a slap on the wrist. It meant a gruesome, agonizing public execution. To plant these revolutionary seeds without literally losing his head, these ideas had to be meticulously, perfectly hidden.
And so I'm going to leave you with this final thought to judge for yourself. We've looked at the matching texts, the coded ciphers, the mirrored biographies, and the very real life-or-death motive. Did Francis Bacon, this brilliant statesman and master of simulation, actually pull off the greatest literary heist in human history? Did he successfully write the foundational blueprint for the modern, scientific, democratic world we all enjoy today, all while remaining a phantom, hidden securely in plain sight? It's a 400-year-old mystery that, honestly, totally changes how we view the dawn of our modern era.